Good evening, fight fans. It's the Radulich and Broadcasting Network alternative commentary for Caleb Plant versus Vincent Feigenbutz, brought to you by the good people at PBC and Fox. I'm your host, the man-data reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And joining me for this nationally televised boxing broadcast with our alternative commentary is the one and only from Boxing and Brews, John War. How do you do, sir?
I'm good, Mark. How are you? Happy Mardi Gras, boxing fans. I'm a Plant fan, so I'm ready for this fight.
Yes, absolutely. My shirt is off, my boobs are out, throw me those beads. And now if everyone could stop from vomiting in their mouth just a little bit, we'll get on with the boxing. So just to get into tonight's card, we opened up the show with Diego Magdaleno getting a unanimous decision over Austin Delay. 10 rounds of boxing there. And poor Brian Perella. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was crazy.
TKO in the last round, in the last minute of the last round for Abel Ramos. Can we just, before we jump into Caleb Plant, your IBF super middleweight champion, putting his belt on the line against mandatory challenger Vincent, with the greatest last name I've ever heard, Vincent Feigenbutz. Just 50 words, man, on that stoppage in the last round. How do you even justify that? I got to hear your thoughts on this.
I didn't like it, but Jack Reese, when Jack Reese is involved in a fight, anything is possible, literally. So I didn't like it. There was 1 second left, 3 seconds left in that last round. He got knocked down twice. He was going to make it, you know what I mean? And so it's disappointing to see the ref have played such a big part in the outcome of that fight.
He didn't, I get it if you're trying to save him early on in the fight, but with that last second to go and he wants to keep going, I would contest that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was hurt, but he made it through the round. You know what I mean? And so It's not. And Jack Reese is supposed to know these things. You're a ref. You're supposed to be aware of everything that's going on. So I honestly was totally bumfuzzled by that.
Yeah, that's. I don't like to throw out the word robbery a lot, but I feel like that was a robbery. He was winning on the cards. He was on his way to. He was on his way to a unanimous decision win, even though he sort of tripped at the goal line, and then the ref stole it from him.
And we talked about it, last time we were on together. 2019 was rough. A lot of fighters were injured, and so I understand it. But I let him get knocked down 3 times, even.
Right.
So I didn't like it.
Didn't we just see a fight where the one fighter was being knocked all over the place, left and right? I mean, look, and it also, the other side of it is he got up and was ready to fight again. It isn't like this was Ryan Garcia who murdered Francisco Fonseca
exactly
Friday night. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, did you see that knockout?
Yeah, that was crazy, man. So far he's looking the goods, man.
Check left hook, and Fonseca lost math, reading, and his address. All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah, let's get to, as the fighters are finally in the ring after 9 hours of Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder promotion. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Caleb Plant is from Tennessee.
Yes, I do know it. If I didn't know it, I know it. If I didn't know it, I know it now.
Yeah. So Caleb Plant this should be a walkthrough. That's the rumor on this. That's the narrative, that there are bigger and better fights for Caleb Plant at 168, but this is the mandatory challenger deal. And the rumor mill, the narrative, the sports writers are all saying he should put Feigenbutz, making his debut here in the United States, out early. What say you?
That's what I think. That's what I'm hoping for. They're turning Caleb Plant into a headliner. He had his own little pre-card before the last big main event for PBC. I don't remember who it was. But this is his homecoming, and he's main eventing. and so they're trying to make him a star, which I get, and he's got what it takes to be a star. However, PBC homecoming fights have been tricky, and so I'm hoping that everything I'm gonna be honest, I don't know anything about Feigenbutz, so I just expect Plant to come out here and do what he does, and he's showing more power lately. He's an incredible boxer, as we know. So if he wants to make a statement, 168's tough. It could be to get this guy out of here really quick.
I want to tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone, okay? Just between me and you.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Feigenbutz because I love his last name.
I mean, it's meme-tastic, but I don't see that happening, Mark.
I especially like to run around at work and just kind of whisper to people, Feigenbutz, and then run away. I'm not a serious person. All right.
This guy, I get it.
Here we go, round 1, and we have a feeling out process to start. Feigenbutz is moving a little bit faster. Plant is trying to take his measure, just kind of staring at him, pawing at him with his jab. Not a whole lot happening here in this first round so far.
Yeah, I was looking at the line. There's no money on a Plant win or a draw. So Vegas thinks he should get him out of here pretty fast. Vegas is right more often than not. So Plant's clearly bigger too, which is a feat for Plant. He's not the biggest 168. At his weigh-in, he was 167 maybe. So.
Well, Isaac Cruz wasn't supposed to win against Thomas Matisse either, and no one told Cruz that.
No, I don't know what Feigenbutz knows about that fight, but I don't think that he has a lot of rounds, but not a lot of rounds with anybody significant.
Caleb Plant comes into this fight undefeated at 19-0, and Feigenbutz has that kind of journeyman. That journeyman stats with let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, he comes into this fight at 31-2 with 28 KOs.
Yeah.
So he's definitely seen a few rounds.
Yeah, and that's all I pretty much know about him. Like I said, so he wasn't on anybody's radar, so there's not much to know. But he's been in the ring for a while, so I don't expect him to look crazy. But I also don't expect him to have seen anything like Caleb Plant.
Caleb Plant comes forward with a hook to the body. Hopefully we won't see yet another 10 rounds of people being punched in the pelvis.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's why they made us wait, because they know it wasn't going to go 10 rounds. Otherwise, I don't know why they made us wait so long.
I did my taxes. I painted my house. I went to work and came back. That was a long wait. I don't know if they were waiting for the UFC to finish up or what, but
I mean, maybe that's just what it was. But I told my girl, I said, "Oh, the fights will be over 9ish." Yeah, now I'm a liar.
Just standing there with curlers and a bathrobe, arms folded in the doorway. What are you doing, John?
Pretty much. Yeah.
No, my wife bailed out after the second punch in the dick in the first fight.
There was a lot of low blows, and it was crazy because his knockdown really was a body shot, but there were so many low blows you couldn't give him the benefit of a doubt.
Yes, sir. All right, so we see some stats there on Mr. Feigenbutz. 28 fights in Germany, 2 fights in England is what they're telling us. 2 fights in Poland. Fantastic. As they're going through this, did you see the announcement that Golden Boy put together what looks like their WrestleMania for March 28th?
No, I know the fights. No, actually, no, I don't.
So, March 28th is headlined by Virgil Ortiz versus Samuel Vargas on DAZN. And that fight has, like, the Golden Boy Who's Who on it.
Oh, really?
Let me find it.
Is Rashidi Ellis on it? Because otherwise, I don't know what they're doing with him.
Pablo Caesar puts his WBC Silver Super Lightweight title on the line against Michael Perez. There was an article where there were like 900 other fights they made for that night. That's like, it's pretty stacked.
Yeah, I mean, they're really pushing Virgil. He's legit, you know. I'm excited to see what he can do with a division, a tough division. But, you know, as he faces stiffer competition, you know, we might see a different Virgil, you know. But I believe in Virgil. I believe in his skills and his power, so we'll see.
That's a stacked night of fights. That's also the same night as Beterbiev versus...
Feng Long?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yep. And then on Showtime, there's Alberto Puello versus Rances Barthelemy.
Yeah, excited about Beterbiev. He's a beast, especially at that division, which is crazy. So
yeah, that's the one I have scheduled for us to cover. And speaking of coverage, we're at round 2 here. A minute's gone by, and Plant's still just kind of messing with Feigenbutz.
Yeah, I think Plant sees that he's not a pushover, which I knew he knew coming in. So he's going to have to, you know, do a little bit of boxing. But I believe that he believes he's faster. He's clearly bigger. I believe he believes he's stronger.
Lots of movement from Feigenbutz. He just took a combination from Caleb Plant. I'm guessing Caleb Plant's kind of got his timing now because he's starting to let his hands go and unload on Mr. Feigenbutz.
Yeah, for sure. Plant's hard to hit. Feigenbutz is going to, you know, understand that going forward, and I think that's going to help Plant break him down.
The other side of this is that Feigenbutz has stopped answering back. He's just kind of covering up, except that Plant's getting through. He's got fast hands.
Yeah, sweet hands, man. He's not lying about that. He's a true boxer, you know what I mean? And now he's coming into a lot more power in his fights. The way he treated Uzcategui was, you know, impressive. So,
yeah, I'm not loving Feigenbutz's. Oh, this isn't going to go much longer.
No.
I don't like Feigenbutz's defense at all. He's just kind of standing there. He's not circling. He goes back and forth, little steps back and forth. He's just fighting on a line, and he's just there for Caleb Plant to hit.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, he's had a lot of rounds, but he hasn't had any rounds with anybody like Caleb Plant. So I think that's what he's understanding. And, you know, there's only so much you can do when you just don't have the skills, speed, or power.
He did have 2 fights in Hungary, though. Got to give him that.
I will definitely give him that. And now he's had 1 in Nashville.
Yes, the Hungary of the United States. And that takes us to round 3. So yes, last night myself and Robert Winfrey, and you can check this out in the archives on W2M.net or W2M Network on Spreaker or any number of podcast platforms. We meant to just do the Ryan Garcia versus Francisco Fonseca fight. It lasted less than a minute. So I said, well, I'm not putting up a 10-minute podcast. So of mostly us discussing whether or not the WWE was going to license out its pay-per-views and if they would end up on the zone or not. So we jumped over to Showtime and covered that. And that ended up, that was a bad night for Matisse. So you can check that out in the archives if you're enjoying this and you want to hear more boxing coverage. All right, we are ready to start round 3. Feigenbutz gives the nod. He is ready to go forth. I know that's a thing that boxers do, but can I tell you how much I hate the pawing thing that Caleb Plant is doing? Wow.
What is it?
He just kind of sticks the left hand out there like it's not a punch. He's literally just putting his hand in the guy's face. But to his credit, he also came forth with a vicious combination of punches. So I mean, even if they're all not landing, it sucks to get punched in the arms and in the in the gloves.
Yeah, I mean, he's been fighting his whole life. He's gone through the amateur ranks. He's gifted too, on top of all of the skills. So it's just, I think Feigenbutz is just, he's overmatched clearly, and so I think Plant wants to move his hands from his face and that's so much. That's why he throws that paw so much.
Oh, I gotta wonder for Feigenbutz what this long-term strategy here is. I mean, for him to be covering up this much and not really giving back anything in return, what's the plan here?
Yeah, it's just at some point it's going to be how tough am I, and we'll find out then. I don't know what round that happens in, but it can't be too many more of these kind of rounds.
I mean, maybe he's hoping that with all of these combinations Plant is throwing, he'll find a way inside, and he'll be able to. Feigenbutz must think that he's got some power, and that he can get a flash knockout on Plant. Because otherwise, I don't see what the hell he's doing.
Yeah, that's all I can think of too. But just very Euro in his approach. It's not going to do much to break Plant down. So I think it's just a matter of time. And if anything, for Plant, it should be, hey, let's get this guy out. He clearly knows he doesn't have anything for him, so he should be thinking, I want to get him out of here.
Well, he's trying his level best.
Yeah.
I mean, he big hook there behind the ear with the left. I mean, and he's definitely scoring on, a lot are going into the gloves and in the arms and shoulders, but he's also getting a few through. I mean, he's rocked this guy's head a few times.
Yeah. And with Feigenbutz keeping his hands high, I'm not sure how much Plant is really aiming for his head on those combos. He might be aiming for the chest and whatnot, just to get him to drop those hands a little bit going forward.
Yeah.
Bloody nose on Feigenbutz. So, I mean, Plant is clearly landed.
And that is the end of the round. Feigenbutz taking some pretty deep breaths.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be a lot of, what is this trainer thinking? What is this trainer saying? Because it might be the trainer needs to do what's best for his fighter, because after 3 rounds, I don't see it changing up much.
Well, I brought this up with Robert last night. If your plan is to take somebody into deep waters, so you're willing to give away, like, for example, Isaac Cruz in the Matisse fight would fight hard for 2 rounds and then, like, give a round or 2 away because he knew he was going to come back in another round and just wallop Matisse, which is what he did, and that's how he won the fight. And you can get away with that if you're going to be like Cruz and throw heavy volume. I mean, we talked about the fighting Mexican style. Isaac Cruz was like the poster boy for it last night. He threw shit tons of punches. I mean, like, it was almost embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Feigenbutz has the ability to throw that many punches against Plant, who's faster. He's just faster. So he can't even punch in between Plant's punches because he's throwing about 6-punch combos, which speaks to Plant's preparation and endurance. So I just don't see any way that he's going to, overcome what Plant is bringing.
On Plant's left shoulder, is that the Cobra symbol?
I'm a little bit behind you, but let me see a second. Like from G.I. Joe, Cobra?
Yeah.
That if that's what it is, I would be impressed that he knows what that is. Because he's a young guy, you know what I mean?
This is true. It's I tend to forget I'm in my 40s and G.I. Joe's kind of a thing of the past.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I grew up with it and I love it, but I would be impressed if Plant was so American. He's the American hero.
This fight is taking place mostly in the center. Not a tremendous amount of circling, fighting off the back foot for either guy. Feigenbutz comes forward, deftly moves out of the way Caleb Plant does.
I mean, what I'm seeing is just Feigenbutz. Feigenbutz has, been fighting for a long time, so he keeps his hands up, but nothing that he offers that can overcome what Plant is. Just, he's faster, he's quicker, he's more creative with his approach and throwing the punches.
Feigenbutz is starting to turn up the volume a little bit now. It's just not tremendously effective.
Right.
Caleb Plant's defense, I mean, he's been able to slip a lot of the single straights from the straight lefts that Feigenbutz has been throwing. Oh, good combination there. He landed with an uppercut and came around with a hook.
Feigenbutz is he's going to come forward. He can throw more punches, but those punches are going to be a lot of 1-2s, a lot of lunging forward, and it's nothing that Plant hasn't seen, And I don't question Feigenbutz's tank. I mean, he's been fighting for years, so I believe he has a tank. But,
This head, Feigenbutz's head just got knocked back on a big left from Caleb Plant. I mean, to his credit, he's absorbing Plant's punches.
Yeah.
And we just saw a clinch there momentarily, but that's the one thing I can say about this fight. They've been throwing punches. This hasn't been just one clinch after another.
Yeah, for sure. After that first round, Plant started letting his hands go. And Feigenbutz is a true boxer, too, clearly. So he's not going to do a lot of clinching. It's not like he doesn't necessarily he's very, like I said, European in his approach. So it's not much variation to his attack. He doesn't change the level. He doesn't change. He's doing 1s and 2s.
Doing a lot of covering up his face with his guard. Not a lot of slipping. Just covering up, kind of stand there, march forward, march backward, march forward, march backwards.
So at this point, I think it's an issue of, Caleb should say, hey, let's turn it up. He doesn't have anything for me. Let's hurt this guy.
Yeah, I think we're 3 rounds in here. I'm assuming all the rounds you've scored for Caleb Plant so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, we're getting into the middle rounds here. This is where Caleb Plant needs to try to finish this. Yes, we are starting. I'm off by a round. Round 5. So we have 4 rounds down. It's 4 rounds to 0. I would say if you're Caleb Plant, this needs to be over in the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, I would think he could finish him in the first half of the fight. He's not a one-punch knockout guy, but he has enough power, and he can put together enough punches, to finish a guy, hurt a guy, and finish him. So.
Feigenbutz is very tentative. Feigenbutz is very tentative. He wants to fire a shot at Caleb Plant, but he's like, no, not so much. Now, I don't know. And then he finally throws it, and by that point, he's telegraphed it so much. Caleb Plant is gone, and moving on to his counterattack before Feigenbutz even thinks about throwing.
Yeah, I mean, Plant like I said, he's just too fast. The punches are coming from different angles, as opposed to Feigenbutz, who can slip left and right, but he's coming to punch from upright. So.
And we see the scorecards from the unofficial scorecards, of course, 10-9 all the way across the board for the first 4 rounds.
And Plant, even being on the back foot, is controlling the ring, and it speaks to his endurance. And at the same time, it's kind of like a reverse psychology kind of pressure, because he's making Feigenbutz come to him no matter what, everywhere in the ring.
Tell you, Caleb Plant will sacrifice a jab to land that second or third punch, which usually ends up being a power punch of some kind, whether it's a right hook or a straight. And they're getting in there. I mean, he's roughing Feigenbutz's face up.
Yeah. Yeah, and it may be on his corner to stop the fight. So no point in just getting beat up for 12 rounds. That's where the real damage happens.
I hope they stop it in the last second again.
Well, there's no Jack Reese, so maybe I haven't even noticed this ref, so he's doing a good job. But there hasn't really been much to, like you said, there's been no clinching, no holding, which clearly is hurting Feigenbutz. He has no answer for anything that Caleb Plant is doing. He's sparring.
Yeah. And that is the end of round 5. Oh, wait, I can see the tattoo. All right, so it's not the Cobra sign.
Okay.
It's some sort of lion. Good for
Oh,
him.
okay. Yeah.
All right, so we move into round 6 here, and I have the volume down so I can't hear what the corner is telling him, but I would imagine it's, come on, we've got Nashville hot chicken to eat. Let's go.
Yeah, man, I'm sure there's some new country rock band playing down the street.
Listen, I've been to Nashville. They have the best Surly barbecue places. You ever eaten Surly barbecue? When you walk in there and you order a plate of barbecue and the guy just looks at you with disgust? It's the best.
No, I've been there like half of a day.
No. My wife and I went there a few years ago for our anniversary. It was fantastic. It was country music and beer and Surly barbecue. It was just the best trip.
I mean, Surly Barbecue is selling me, man. So
we have a Surly barbecue place here in Tampa, which again, you walk in and they ask you what you want, as if you're utterly wasting their time, and they serve it to you and they just roll their eyes at you. It's the best.
Well, I'm from Texas, man, so we don't really have Surly Barbecue, but there's literally barbecue on every corner.
No, your barbecue is 9 pounds and on a table that runs for a mile. I've been to Texas. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man, no plates, just here. Dump the meat in front of them.
Yes.
Give them some bread. Maybe some beans.
Yes, here's your... Oh, goodness gracious. Feigenbutz is letting his hands go. This almost turned into a barbecue podcast, but Feigenbutz says, hey, pay attention to me. I'm from Germany.
I mean, I'm glad he's got some fight in him, which maybe, Plant needs to, try to hurt this guy. Sometimes, when he's had you kind of let up a little bit and you're just landing punches, especially when you come from the amateur ranks. He could just start landing punches and not so much trying to hurt the guy like he should be. But maybe this will wake him up and be like, hey, I need to hurt him.
Yeah, Feigenbutz finally showed some real fire in this round. But, Caleb Plant got off the ropes. He circled away, and we're back to where we were in the last round. Yeah, Feigenbutz is starting to push. See, I like what Caleb Plant is doing. Feigenbutz thinks he's going to push him into the corner, and Plant just circles right out of there.
Yeah, he can't do that. Feigenbutz doesn't have the footwork. He hasn't cut the ring off one time tonight. So I don't know what he's thinking he's going to do once Caleb Plant circles to the corner. If anything, he's trained specifically to get out of those corners. So
Feigenbutz's head got rocked back again. I mean, he's not, I'm looking at the damage on his face, and I'm not seeing too much around the eyes or anything. But I'll tell you what, Caleb Plant has definitely snuck a lot through that guard of his.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we have a slip there.
And then Feigenbutz does this swimming thing with his hands, and that's easy for a guy like Plant to time.
Yeah. See, as you say that, he got hit again, but that one caught him in the forehead. Oh! Looks like Feigenbutz scored there to the body, and I thought maybe Caleb was going to go down, but he just kind of stood hunched. He does this thing where he stands skinny, but then also hunched over. It's a weird stance.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of the Philly shell, so I'm assuming it comes from that. But he's also not a like a novice Philly shell guy either. You can always tell the guys who, oh, I want to be like Floyd, so I'm gonna throw it in here. He's been doing it for a while. And we also got to remember this is a showcase, so he shouldn't be beating this guy up.
So in the replay, they blew kisses at each other. Fantastic. Just in time for Valentine's Day. I had a very romantic Valentine's Day. You're going to see that I am like Rico Suave, Mr. Romantic. You want to know what I did?
What did you do?
I took my wife and kids to go see Be Jealous, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, wow. I was even telling, like, my girl worked. She works in the service industry. And I told her, I said, that's a good date movie. She looked at me like I was crazy.
My son, who is about to be 6 years old, screamed like it was Avengers Endgame. He could not have been happier.
That's funny that your child loves Sonic, and I remember playing Sonic when I was a kid when it was a thing.
So did I. I had a Sega Genesis. We were talking about that on the podcast. I had the Altered Beast, Joe Montana Football, Sonic. All right, we are in round 7 here. You can tell how the fight's going when I can't stay on topic.
Yeah, it's definitely one-sided, and it's not even, like, I don't see the tide changing at all. If anything, Feigenbutz is just going to get more tired. He came up that last round throwing a lot of punches and landed maybe one to Caleb's body. So,
yeah, I'd like to see the Fox production team throw up a couple more stats here in terms of landed punches. I mean, the one graphic they have up is that I guess cumulatively through round 7, Caleb Plant has landed 107 punches to Feigenbutz's 27.
Yeah, it's not competitive.
No, you called it a sparring match, and if this was our sparring match, they'd have to change out Feigenbutz because he's not really giving Plant a workout. Though, as I say
they have those spots.
As I say that, he scored with I think an uppercut, and Caleb Plant's head got jarred back. So, just every time we start to count Feigenbutz out, he does at least one thing to make it say, huh? And then we're back to the same.
So it's either a tough testament to Feigenbutz's, chin toughness, or maybe it speaks more to Plant's power or lack thereof. We don't know. We saw what he did to Uzcategui, but now it's maybe Uzcategui is not what we thought he was.
So, unless something bizarre happens, Caleb Plant's going to walk away with a unanimous decision here. Not great. This is a fight that should have ended in a knockout, but it is what it is. So if you're a matchmaker and you're looking at this fight, what do you do with Caleb Plant next?
Well, I mean, PBC has Benavidez, who's another one. He's the WBC 168-pound champ. They don't like each other. They want to fight each other. It's been an issue of Plant is because he's trying to become a star, making some money. But that fight, I think, is a huge fight. But I also think they need to do a little bit more work with Benavidez. So it might give us another one of these coming from Plant. I don't know off the top of my head at 168 who could be, an issue for Plant. He needs to fight other belt holders.
So let's go through it. What other belt holders? Let's assume they saved that one for maybe around Christmas time this year. They do Benavidez versus Plant, probably on a BBC on Fox card, because these fights are not selling pay-per-views like
right.
These promoters want. So your best bet is to do them on a nationally televised show like this one. That's good content. Good content, no one will pay for it. It'll be fine. So the road to get there, who do Benavidez takes on another title holder, which leaves who left for Plant in order for them to kind of get to each other.
Well, there's B.J. Saunders, but I mean that doesn't really make sense because he's with Matchroom on the Zone, and Callum Smith is another 168 champ. He's with Matchroom on the Zone, so it makes sense that they would fight. Canelo's willing to fight at 168, but it seems like the winner out of all of those would get that fight if Canelo's willing. Honestly, 168, a lot of these divisions have kind of like become full of real champs, real people who can have a chance at a legacy, and all of a sudden, and so it's not been so easy to make these fights. Like you say, it should be on Fox, but I don't think Benavidez and Plant would let it go. I think they would be like, hey, we want to be pay-per-view, so I think that's going to be an issue going forward.
Well, I want to be 6 feet tall and have wings, but that's not going to happen either.
So, but I also don't know what they're planning to do with Benavidez next. I would like to see him. I would like to see Plant Benavidez next, but I don't know if the teams would like that because they're always thinking pay-per-view. How do we get the pay-per-view? What do we need to do to get the pay-per-view? And so I don't know what they have planned for Benavidez, but that's the fight that I want to see. I want to see. I feel that whoever would win out of Plant Benavidez would be the best out of 168, and should fight, Canelo.
Not for nothing, but some of these guys, if you really want to get on pay-per-view, go fight somebody who's famous on YouTube. Not fight Poppy.
You might. You're right. And it's disappointing because the fights with B.J. Saunders, the fights with Callum Smith would be good with both of those guys. But we got all these politics to play, But they could easily have a little mini tournament.
So we are in round 8 of 12 here, and as we've decided what Caleb Plant's next fight's going to be, these two have still been fighting. And if you're wondering, well, hey, what happened to calling the fight? Look, it's the same stuff. It's literally been the same round after round. Occasionally, Feigenbutz comes alive, throws some fire, but once in a while, Caleb Plant looks like he might kind of, sort of, could be in danger. But then we're back to the standard.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem that Plant can one punch hurt Feigenbutz. So he's fighting open mouth now. So maybe he's starting to fatigue a little bit since we're in the later rounds. But Feigenbutz should be out of here. He's no competition for Plant.
Big uppercut there from Plant to end the round. Feigenbutz got some damage, a little bit of damage around the eyes. So the next fight on PBC is Kanaki versus Robert Helenius, and that's March 7th. However, that's the same night as Adesanya versus Soldier of God, Yoel Romero. So that'll be the next UFC fight that myself and Robert Winfrey cover. So we won't be bringing you the Kanaki Helenius fight, which makes me sad because boom, heavyweights, but such is life.
Yeah, but that's because that's off the heels of the Wilder Fury too. So I don't think there'll be any complaints.
Mm-hmm. All right, we are going into round 9 here.
Caleb should have got this, done because he made us wait for 30 minutes, but I get it. I understand.
Think to yourself, wow, the president and the first lady. Yes.
Oh. I think Plant hurt us. Because he's thrown a lot of combinations now, and a lot of those got through.
Yeah, I need him to. He doesn't throw enough straight twos. I would like to see him throw more straight twos.
He's starting to break Feigenbutz down. Oh, Feigenbutz comes back with a combination of his own. Plant likes that 1-1-2. Which is driving me nuts because that was fine in the beginning of the fight. Now, pick up the pace.
Yeah. I mean, he's clearly beating up his guy. I guess we just want to... We have a bloodlust for the stoppage, but...
I mean... Well, it's like we talked about. Sometimes winning the fight is just not enough. You got to put on a good show. You know, if you want to be a pay-per-view attraction, these things cost $70. You got to give people a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll tell you, boxing on pay-per-view, depending on who's doing it, sometimes does great. I mean, you know, a circus fight like Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather does, you know, a bonanza. Wilder versus Ortiz too.
Not so much. Yeah, for sure. It's all about, you know, the fighters, the type of fight, the build-up. So, like, there hasn't been much build-up for Wilder Fury, but it's going to be a big fight.
It's been all over the football games.
And that's where they were smart.
Yeah. Well, that's where, like, all of these different sports signing on to Fox, you get that synergistic marketing, which I love.
Yeah, because everybody, you know, the boxing hardcores were, you know, decrying them. Where's the promotion? Where's the promotion? I'm like, guys, they're going to do the Super Bowl.
Right.
So that's all the promotion you really need.
And then this has been essentially a 3-hour-long marketing event for that fight.
For sure.
Yes, there's been some other boxing too, obviously, but I mean, every other they before this fight, and this is what I was joking about, they did a whole package for Wilder Fury, which if you were flipping channels, you'd have thought that was the fight on next.
And you know what? I think Plant was the main event for the undercard to the Wilder Ortiz too. And so they've been kind of building Plant, and so, you know, they're really trying to work him to the star. I just don't know what they're going to do with Benavidez, who was the other end of that who's the other side of that coin. And so people want to see that. I just hope that they, you know, do it right. We don't have to wait. We can watch it, you know, in a fight or two. Because Plant's got the goods. He's a hell of a boxer. To watch him have to defend against the Mexican style of Benavidez, who's also good defensively, man, that could be a barn burner, man.
Yeah, if I were to judge, though, based on Plant's performance, just solely based on Plant's performance tonight, I think if he gets in there with a guy that throws high volume, he's going to have trouble in River City.
Yeah, and like I said, Plant, he's had trouble with his weight. No, well, not trouble. He's lighter than the 168 division, and Benavidez comes down. So he's going to have a lot of weight and power behind those punches.
All right, here we go.
I mean, it's got to be up to the corner at this point. Like, what are they expecting to happen? Do they think this guy has that one-punch power?
It's hard to tell with Feigenbutz being German if he's discouraged or not.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like, oh, he seems crestfallen. No, he's just German.
I just want someone to save him from himself in these situations. This just so like when the fighters quit against Lomachenko, they quit because of like, hey, I've clearly lost 6 or 7 rounds. What's the point? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm hoping that's, you know, I don't want anybody to just quit, but he's getting hit in the head a lot.
Well, I ran around. The one fight where the guy quit on the stool, I ran around and told everybody about that fight. Like, hey, we did this boxing coverage, and my partner goes, boxing doesn't work that way. What's wrong with you? I was laughing about that many days after.
And maybe if we haven't had so many tragedies, but now that we know the damage that occurs and what causes it, I'm like, hey, I mean, live the fight another day. Like you showed, you know, you're tough. You'll get another fight.
Plant's doing that thing where he sort of measures with his hands, almost holds him with the glove as best you can with a boxing glove, and then wails you with the other arm.
He's very savvy for his young age and amount of fights. He's just, he's had his extensive amateur background, but also he's learned a lot outside of the ring in preparation for his fights. And so,
I mean, again, credit to Feigenbutz. He's absorbed a lot of what seemed like stiff shots from Caleb Plant. And we haven't even seen a knockdown. Yeah, if you're Feigenbutz at this point, you've lost. You've lost the fight by a country mile. Just start throwing your weight into him. Just ugly this up a bit. Start throwing some overhands. I mean, take a chance.
And that's why I say some of these fighters, you just got to make it ugly.
We're done.
You got to, yeah. There's no point.
That was a mercy stoppage. I mean, Caleb Plant unloaded on him, but he unloaded on him like that several times throughout this fight, and he chose to stop it. And the ref chose to stop it now because, as we said, what was the point?
And someone's got to look out for the fighter. If his team isn't going to look, if they're over there saying, hey, be tough, finish it out, then the ref should say, hey, you know what? Those refs feel just as bad when a fighter dies on their watch.
But you know what's hilarious about that? Because here we are doing contemporary boxing coverage, you and I, or myself and Robert. And on the other side of the fence, we have my other boxing buddy, Pat Mullen, who we've been doing the history of heavyweight boxing. And Floyd Patterson got knocked down 7 times in one round.
He's one of my favorite fighters.
Floyd Patterson?
Yes.
Well, I hope you have an opportunity to listen to that podcast because and to your liking, I hope we did him justice. I enjoyed that podcast. I certainly enjoyed the moose that was Sonny Liston. Good grief.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so funny because Floyd Patterson got knocked down 7 times in one round, and they let the fight keep going.
Yeah.
And here we are, 70 years later-ish, and it's like, you fought enough. Go home, Binky.
Yeah, I was actually watching some Sugar Ray Robinson fights the other night, and it was just, no wonder he killed people. Like, what are we doing?
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, boxing ain't what it used to be. It's that's the argument I get into all the time. They're like, "Oh, you just beat people to death." I'm like, not for nothing, but they're stopping fights well before that now. I mean, sometimes it's unavoidable. You have a Patrick Day situation, which, all the condolences to his family. That was a rough fight. Just a sort of a freak thing that happened. But 9 out of 10 times in these boxing matches, you get a stoppage like that one.
Yeah. And I'm not mad at it. He lost every round. He was getting hit in the head a lot. It's not like he was getting punched to the body every time. He was getting hit to the head. And those are the fights that go 12 rounds, and we see the guy collapse on the way out, and we're like, oh, shit, what happened?
Right. So
I'm glad that they stopped it. They could have stopped it a few rounds earlier, to tell you the truth. But,
right. And that's what I was saying. Like, He threw those heavy combinations where he was just, Feigenbutz was doing his impression of a heavy bag.
Yeah.
He just the ref, I guess, was trying to give him opportunities because you don't want to, let's say, stop a fight in the last second of the round.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. We don't ever want to do that.
No, I mean that's crazy talk. We're sarcastic. All right.
Yeah, well, don't do dumb shit like that. I'm gonna say it. Jack Reese, he does a lot of questionable stuff. He fucked up today.
Yeah, he did. And I believe if nothing else from this podcast, you should hear the immortal words, the philosophical words of one John Ward. Don't do dumb shit.
I mean that, man. That's my motto.
Perfect. Put it on a t-shirt, Mindy. All right. A week from this Friday, the 21st, the night before Wilder Fury 2. We're going to invite John War, if he's not working, back on the podcast to do a preview for Wilder Fury 2 with Pat Mullen. Pat Mullen said, we got to do a preview. We need to talk about this. And I said, okay, well, we don't normally do that, but we're going to do it once. So at least give it a whirl, see how it fits. So February 21st, Friday night, we'll do a preview for Wilder Fury 2. And then, of course, Fight of the Century. Here we go. Wilder Fury 2, February 22nd. We'll bring you round for round, pound for pound, punch for punch, all there is in that fight. And hopefully this time we have a decisive winner. And my heart is torn because as much as Deontay Wilder has some technical issues with his boxing, and I'm really trying to be nice about it, I love him. I think I want him to succeed. I want there to be a star heavyweight champion. I want there to be the next Mike Tyson with less traumatic childhood troubles. So, I'm here for Deontay Wilder. I'm cheering him. On the other hand, Tyson Fury.
Hey, guys.
No.
So I'm torn. I love both my children.
I feel that Wilder's peaking at the right time. And so it's just a matter of not if, but when. But, we'll talk about that.
Yes, we will. All right. In the meantime, John, go ahead and do your plugs, and we'll get out of here.
Mark, thanks for having me on tonight. Good job by Caleb Plant. He did exactly what we expected. You can find all of the writing and analysis on boxingandbrews.com, hoopsandbrews.com/boxing. You can find me on Twitter at boxingandbrews, and my personal Twitter is at Instagram. At Insecurity God.
All right. Like I
Jeez.
said, it's late. It's fine. So as I said, Friday night we did a double shot of Ryan Garcia and the whole 1 minute he was in the ring with Francisco Fonseca, and then we did Thomas Matisse versus Isaac Cruz. We have as I mentioned before, Chapter 5 of our history of boxing with Floyd Patterson and Sonny Liston, or as Muhammad Ali called him, Sonny Liston is the devil. We've got NXT TakeOver coming up next, TakeOver in Portland. So that's all the sports coverage we got going on right now. We'll have some more wrestling at the end of the month, AEW Revolution. So you can go ahead and check all of that out. We had a whole bunch of stuff on Birds of Prey this week. We did the movie, we did the show. We reviewed a new Sepultura album. So those are all in the archives. Thank you for joining us tonight on the alternative commentary for Caleb Plant versus Vincent Feigenbutz. Be well, be safe, and behave.